Conflicting perceptions of the public on repurposing property. Neighbors often feel the new improvements are out of place and destroy the character of the neighborhood. These houses are seen as being too large for their lots, with little room for lawns, trees, and backyards. These may also block views and daylight from adjacent homes. Others feel that if local zoning rules allow people to build a bigger house, they should be allowed to do so. Some communities have responded by enacting stricter zoning ordinances, limiting the size and nature of the improvements that can be built. Land cost and its impact on repurposing property. This practice is, in part, a response to incredibly high land costs. The Federal Reserve Board conducted a study of the price of residential land in 46 of the largest cities in the United States. According to the report, learning about home prices means studying land prices. Among other things, the study determined the value of land as percentage of the local market for housing, compares to the value of land in 1984 to 2004. In many of these communities, land is valued as high as $1 million per acre. A 1,400 square foot bungalow can be purchased for $700,000. The purchase of the value attributed to the land could be as high as $58,000. An individual who pays that kind of price might want to double the square footage by adding on or tearing down and building new, because the building cost might be only $100 to $200 per square foot. This is a way of balancing land cost with the cost of construction. It is a market reaction to facilitate having a larger home in a neighborhood where the land costs are not as exorbitant as they would be in neighborhood or even larger homes. Local governmental restrictions. Local government officials responding to neighborhood activists are considering and imposing limitations that range from outright bans on home demolitions to limiting the size of home remodels. In 2009, Los Angeles lawmakers enacted limits on the size of new homes and renovations based on lot size. Other local governmental agencies have adopted a variety of restrictions such as the height of the house, size of side yards, and total square footage. Still, others are making use of design and architectural review boards that might be charged with determining whether an improvement will be compatible with the rest of the neighborhood. When size restrictions are placed on homes, the next logical direction to go in is up. Some communities therefore even limit the size of the shadow that a house casts on its neighbors. Design Review Boards. The Design Review Board has existed in the community of Laguna Beach for approximately 50 years. Its position has been that if guidelines weren't strict, then the Laguna Beach would not be Laguna Beach. A lot of Laguna's charm is that it's made up of quaint cottages, many of which are built as summertime retreats. Most of them now sell for millions of dollars. Often, new owners want to make homes larger to be more in line with the amount of their investment. Just as often, it isn't additional size that is important to them, rather to obtain a view which may not have previously been enjoyed by the cottage. In San Diego, the attempt to keep things the way they were is stated in the purpose of the Old Town San Diego Plan District to replicate, retain, and enhance the distinctive character of the Old Town San Diego historic area that existed prior to 1871. This, of course, mainly consisted of one-room adobe mud huts. A complaint that has been lodged against some design review boards' action is that they are subjective and arbitrary. How to address anti-change sentiments in a marketplace is difficult. Sometimes conflicting interests of private property rights versus standards to retain desirable neighborhood identities are emotionally charged. Home purchasers' desires to create their dream homes are offset against tearing down or substantially altering historic houses. Many people just don't want to live in a 1,300 square foot house with one bathroom and no family room. When repurposing property makes sense. Not everyone is a good candidate for repurposing property in an established neighborhood, whether as a buyer, seller, or investor. The following issues should be carefully considered. A home with a lot of deferred maintenance or a dated floor plan that is located on an attractive parcel of land might be an excellent prospect for repurposing. In this case, it is essential the lot minus the demolition cost plus site improvements necessary prior to construction that is being sold. Sellers should carefully consider the cost of improvements that will be necessary to make the home competitive with other properties in the marketplace compared to its land value without improvements. Properties with severe structural problems with a spectacular view are excellent candidates. For example, a structure with a faulty foundation might make the improvements on the property virtually worthless and have a market value of $1.1 million. But a view of the ocean might make the lot worth $1 million, and after demolishing the existing improvements and construction of a new house for $3 million, the total property might be worth $12 million. Buyers should investigate the dynamics of a particular neighborhood prior to deciding on a particular size or style of a new or remodeled home improvement plan. It might even be a good idea to meet with prospective neighbors, show them what the future home will look like, get their reaction, and attempt to build a good relationship prior to contracting for the property. The number and nature of other repurposing properties in the neighborhood may help them decide if they want to proceed on particular property. It is important to be aware of the influence of the other properties that will surround the repurposing property. An $8 million property in a $1 million neighborhood may be difficult to sell in the future. Additionally, purchasers should investigate and be willing to work within local guidelines and restrictions prior to taking on a property. Just keeping up to date with guidelines in some localities can be time-consuming. A project like this likely won't work well for purchasers who are operating on strict timetables. In some instances, it has taken years to get all the way through the process of obtaining all of the required approvals, raise the home, and finally rebuild. Even when someone has the time, they need to determine if they have the patience to take on a repurposing project. Buying any new home can be an emotionally trying experience. Working in the context of an existing home that involves emotionally involved neighbors can be a nightmare. The 30% rule. Ultimately, the question that all parties must answer before forging ahead is, does the transaction make financial sense? Some developers use the 30% rule to evaluate whether a project is economically viable. This rule states that if you can sell a finished project for approximately 3 times what you paid for the property, it will pay off. Example, what you purchase a property for should be only 30% of what you sell it for when finished. You can do the math. If land values are typically 70 to 80% of the property's total cost, financially viable projects will be rare. One of the last available pieces of beachfront property left to be developed in Southern California is the Strand and Highlands in Dana Point. The property possesses 1.5 miles of shoreline and consists of 118 lots on a 121-acre coastal bluff. Originally named Dana Point Headlands, the property was owned for over 70 years by the Chandler family, who owned the Los Angeles Times. For over 30 years, starting in the 1950s, it was used as a trailer park. It's currently one of the most successful real estate developments in the country. The first lots were released in 2006. In 2007, a lot sold for equivalent of $46.5 million per acre. Purchasers have included sports and entertainment celebrities, many of whom purchased multiple lots. Houses in the development typically range from 4,800 to 9,000 square feet and include, in addition to spectacular views of the Pacific Ocean and Catalina Island, theater rooms, 24-hour guard-gated security, a beach club, and VIP privileges at the neighboring Ritz-Carlton Hotel, just a short walk down the white sand beach. At the Strand and Headlands, people can immerse themselves in a beachfront luxury lifestyle. It is the very definition of a McMansion.